No, only since you've been here.
Oh.
I said that because he's been here for a long time.
Oh, wow. Bianco, we have Havertine. I have all the luminaries this afternoon. Benasso. Yeah, Howard hasn't been here in a while. Okay. Patrick?
Good afternoon. This is the Board of Appeals, Town of Hempstead, June 5th, 2024, 2 p.m. meeting. Mr. Chairman, do you have any opening remarks?
Always. For those of you who have not been before this board in the past, the way we conduct our hearings are, we'll call the cases. There are no, I don't see any requests for renewals this afternoon, so we'll be calling the cases in order unless there is a request for an adjournment. We will call those cases first, and then the applicant will be, on each case, will be permitted to state their case. If there are any people here in opposition, we'll then allow the opponents to present their side of the story, and ordinarily we give the applicant the ability to sum up. We accept all kinds of evidence. We're not bound by the strict evidence rules of the court because this is a quasi-judicial hearing. The proceedings are archived. Do we have the live stream on, Patrick?
It's been resolved.
Okay, it's been resolved. It's live streamed. You can refer to it in the future. We have a court reporter who will take everything down. We accept emails. We accept letters. We accept all sorts of hearsay evidence and double hearsay evidence. God knows what else. However, if you have any questions, save them until it's your time to speak. Do we have any requests for adjournments?
Mr. Chairman, we have two applications that need to be adjourned today. First, we have case 37624, Belmore, Joseph Pizzaruso, variance lot area occupied, side yards aggregates, maintained two-story garage with roof over patio and breezeway connecting garage to dwelling, also known as 3009 Judith Drive.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Yes, we'd like to ask for an adjournment.
Name and address for
I'm
the record.
sorry?
Have you been sworn?
No, I have not.
Not for adjournments.
Not necessary.
Jean
Okay.
Stevens, 124
I know you do,
Haley
because that's the right
Drive,
thing to do.
Santa Mauritius, New York, 11934.
Okay.
Yes, I'd just like to ask for postponement of our hearing, 376-24, due to mismailing.
Do you have that all, have you figured out when you need to mail to do the next one?
Yeah.
You got your window? No, I'm not being sarcastic, like,
No, I understand, no.
it's
Yeah,
easy to mess
yeah.
up. It's an odd
Yes.
29-day thing or something.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
Patrick?
August 21st at 2 p.m.
Oh,
August
jackpot.
It's gonna be someday.
That's going to be someday, 3 in a row.
We have in
Okay.
the morning and the afternoon.
August 21, 2 p.m. To adjourn the case to that date and time.
August 21st
You know what you
works.
have to do to
Excuse me?
comply? You know what you have to do to comply, correct?
Yes, we do.
Patrick?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
August 21st.
August 21, 2 p.m.
Okay. We're good?
Good.
Okay,
Have a
thank
nice
you.
afternoon.
We have one more.
Next case to be adjourned.
We have one more. It's case 37724, Oceanside, Fernando Canari, use variance to maintain two-family dwelling, also known as 3204 Brower Avenue. Just your name and address for the record.
My name is Melissa Graham. My address is 124 Front Street, Massapequa Park, 11762. We are just requesting an adjournment for the next available date due to a missed mailing.
Patrick,
September 4th at 2 p.m.
is that
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
Good. Except for 2 p.m. Okay. Case is so adjourned.
Perfect. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, first we have case 37824 through 37924, Lido Beach, Daniel Labrizzi. Variances: front yard average setback, lot area occupied, side yards aggregate, rear yard, construct 1 and 2 story additions lower than 2 feet above base flood elevation, attached to dwelling. Maintain 6-foot high wood fence and 6-foot high living fence, both forward of the dwelling and within clear sight triangles at owners and neighbors' driveways, also known as 16 Leamington Street. State your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Gallinaro. Address is 185 Lagoon Drive East, Lido Beach, New York, 11561. I'm the architect for the Labrizzi family, here to represent the project. We are interested in creating a 2-story addition on the north side of the property with a front porch. The subject dwelling is in a flood zone with its base flood elevation of 12. The existing first floor is 11.7, and we would need to be at 14 feet for a lateral addition in a flood zone. So we have already been and received approvals from the state of New York to have our addition approved by them because we are a lateral addition in a flood zone. We've been determined not to be substantial construction, both by the state and the town, which both decide how to calculate the cost of the project independently. So both the town and the state has declared this is not a substantial renovation. With the 2-story addition, which is on the north side of the property, approximately 644 square feet. The addition on the first floor would be a mudroom, a kitchen, and a den. On the second floor is a main bedroom and a main bathroom. There's other proposed work, which includes the removal of an existing kitchen, the construction of a front portico, an exterior mechanical platform. The FEMA publication entitled Substantial Improvement, Substantial Damage Risk Reference would allow such addition, given the cost is not more than 50% the value of the structure, or however the municipality or the state decides to determine that. We are going to have a crawl space where there would be a poured concrete slab equal to the outside grade, and it would have flood vents all under the proposed addition. The local code official in this case is Mr. Albert from the Town of Hempstead Plan Examiner. He has given support to the petitioner's request for the variance to the Uniform Code flood requirements of this matter as well.
They don't have a FEMA first.
We plan on designing and constructing
Pass it down.
the structure with flood-resistant materials
Sit
up
down,
until the
Mark.
design flood elevation of 14 feet. There will not be any electrical and mechanical equipment devices below the design flood elevation. We are requesting a variance from a front yard. The allowable average is 23.4 feet. The existing house is 19.5 feet. We are requesting a front yard variance of 14.5 feet, but I would like to point out that that is to the front porch. The house is a split level, so the property sort of grades up to the front door. And at the line of the front porch patio, which happens to be 318 square feet of the total lot coverage, is at 14.5 feet. However, the front wall of the addition is over 20.5 feet back from the front property line. So the addition that we're proposing is further away from the front property line than the current house itself.
Wait, maybe I misunderstood. So you're required 23.4, it's currently, I think you said 19.5?
Correct.
So what's causing it to go down to 14.5? The open porch? Or?
That's just the porch, the open porch.
And would your client, in the event we were willing to consider this application, agree to keeping that open at all times?
The porch
A
is open.
condition that requires that it's,
Sure. The porch is currently open. There's no cover. There's actually just a small portico over the front door. But the
And-
porch is not, there is no roof over the entire porch.
so the portion of the house that is going to change the front yard setback from 19.5 to 14.5, that's expanding the open porch.
Correct.
And as it relates to all of that, that front porch, would your client agree to a condition that not ever be enclosed in the future? Because we're looking at this and analyzing it as an open space, and therefore not the same as the whole house being encroaching to that level.
I imagine there's no plan for enclosing that. It wouldn't make sense architecturally or space flow speaking, but I wouldn't want to speak for them.
You should, because that response is not,
Okay.
doesn't
well,
answer the question. So maybe you should speak to your
I
client
could
about
talk
that.
to the client. He's here
Good.
today. If we can continue with the
Okay.
presentation or get an answer.
Oh, your client's in the courtroom?
He is.
Oh,
Yeah,
might as well have your client come up.
why not?
Okay.
Patrick,
Daniel Labrizzi, 16 Leamington Street, Lido Beach, New York, 11561.
so, Mr. Labrizzi, in the event the board were to grant your application for that open porch encroaching another, 5 feet into the front yard setback, your house already encroaches, obviously, would you be willing to accept a condition, if approved, that that front porch, the new front porch, not be enclosed in the future?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Now, I just want to, you went kind of fast, so I just want to make sure I understand a couple of things. The request to construct the one-story and two-story additions, both, of course, out of the footprint of the existing structure, lower than 2 feet above the BFE. So you're gonna meet the BFE, but you can't meet the DFE, right?
It's lower than the BFE.
BFE.
Which one?
The
Base
BF.
flood, the lower one.
Yeah.
So the base flood elevation for this area is 12 feet. The existing house is 11.7 feet. So it's lower than the 12.
The BFE.
Oh, because it says lower than 2 feet above
Above the
BFE.
Lower than 2 feet above
The
BFE.
BFE.
So that means
The
the 2
BFE
feet
is
above
12.
the BFE is the DFE. So
Who
it
wrote
doesn't
that?
seem to be below the BFE. No,
I don't know, what are we reading from?
the calendar which
okay.
advertises. So I'll just read.
Okay, thank you.
Variances, front yard average setback, lot area occupied, side yard aggregate, rear yard, construct 1- and 2-story additions lower than 2 feet above the base flood elevation. So that I read that as meaning you meet the base flood, you just can't satisfy the DFE, which is, as you know, the 2 feet the state imposes.
Right.
So if you're telling me, it kind of leads up to my question. So you're telling me
If it's,
you want to construct your additions at 11.7, which is not only below the DFE, but below the BFE, right?
right, which would also be more than 2 feet below the DFE.
Yes, but that's a
need-
very different thing from what, but,
Let's try to make it simple.
Okay.
What's the BFE?
12 feet,
What's the DFE?
14.
Okay. Now, how much lower than the DFE do you want to construct?
2.3.
No, I
Lower
don't believe he
than-
said that.
No, just let's say,
Lower
let's
than
call
the-
them without B and D. Design flood elevation, base flood, right?
Great.
So I'll ask it that way.
Oh, you ask it.
No, because I didn't. I think we're getting confused with B and D, like, it sounds the same.
So the base flood elevation is 12 feet.
12.
And we have an existing house at 11.7.
Okay.
Which would be 0.3 feet below the base
B-
flood of
the
12.
BFE, right.
And we would like to align with that.
Okay.
So the house is usable.
So 11.7, that correct?
That's correct.
Great,
So
let's move on.
well, I think we would need to amend the caption because you don't only want to be, you want to be more than just 2 feet, lower than 2 feet above the BFE. You want to be below the BFE, which is a different animal, because the BFE is the federal standard.
Right.
Okay. And that was leading to actually the question I wanted to ask, which is why do you want to do it at 11.7? And I presume that's because then it will meet up.
Correct.
And did you, if you said it, I apologize. Did you already receive whatever necessary authorization from the state
We
to
did.
do this?
Yes, we went to the zoning hearing for the state, and the plan examiner received recently the email response that granted approval for what we proposed.
The town plan examiner received what you got from the state?
Correct.
Do you have a copy of that?
I do.
Would
Wanna
wanna
submit that?
Sure.
Take it into evidence. Get what's going on. They're at 11.3, then we build at
And
11.3.
who was it that determined that you don't meet the substantial that throws you into bringing it all into FEMA?
Got it, John?
At the town, it was the plan examiner, Mr. Albert. And at the state, it was
You don't have to
Mr.
give me
Thank
names, I
you.
just meant the state and the town both.
Yes, they both, and they determined the cost of the project differently, completely, so.
Is before us with their determination.
Yeah, I just want to know if they both.
The town evaluates the cost of the construction
And you're under that 50% threshold.
by themselves independently using the
yes.
FEMA's website, software, and that
Cut 'em in
was
half.
approved or passed. It was deemed not substantial.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
So I just want to understand exactly where the fence is living, not living, et cetera. So, looking at the site plan. So,
Killing me.
okay, so as it relates to the fence, you have a number of applications before the board on the fence, including driveways, which we always look at as a safety issue. So on the north side of the property, there's a notation on the back that says maintain existing 6-foot tall fence with a building permit number. So is that portion of the fence already, that runs along the north side of the property and appears to run all the way to the street? Is that already approved or is that before us?
The north side does not extend forward to the front face of the house.
Okay, because you see the X dash X dash X that goes along all the way to the street. So the fence, in fact, doesn't go that far. It stops at that proposed 6-foot tailgate,
Yes.
so you want to go there. Now, that seems to have a building permit already. So is that not before us?
It wouldn't be before you, no. It is not before you.
Okay, so we're not asked to grant anything on that.
On the
So
north,
now
it's
let's-
as of right on the north side.
Okay, so now let's go to the back. Again, it has the same X dash X. So am I correct in assuming the fence there goes along the entire back of the property?
Yes.
Okay, so that already has a permit also, not before us.
Right.
So now going along the south side of the property, I don't see any notation about a fence there except some words that say maintain 6-foot tall fence and 6-foot tall living fence. So usually it's like X dash X. So is there a living fence and a fence running the entire southern property line?
Yes.
Okay. And is that before us?
Yes.
I can't do it. Okay, and does it go all the way to the street? To the
It's held-
sidewalk?
It's held back a couple of feet from the sidewalk.
No, it's not.
How many? It's not on the, doesn't appear to be set back on the, oh, maybe. There's no notations on this part, but is it possible are you looking at the site plan?
No, can I approach to see what you're looking at,
Oh,
please?
let's just give you a copy of the site plan. Go ahead, just give them that so we can keep it on the record.
Okay, thank you.
So this, you see the southern property line?
Yes,
So,
it's 2.8 feet if you look at the bottom right corner
yeah,
from
I
the
see that.
property. Yeah,
So from the corner all the way out to there, and then going back north, right? Heading north.
on the western property side, yeah.
I'm just trying to identify what's before us.
The southern fence, the 6 foot, where it says maintain 6 foot tall fence, on the southern property line, that's 65 feet, where it's held 2'8" west of the front property line.
Right? And then it
That
goes.
portion, yeah, and then it runs north
The portion that heads north,
for 21.5 feet,
right? And
And
then
then
it
it
cuts
heads-
back 19.8.
yes.
That's the portion of the fence that's before us.
Correct.
No other portion. And that's both a regular fence and a living fence.
Correct.
And they're before us at 6 feet, is that right?
Correct.
Actually, I stand corrected. I think only the portion that is forward of the dwelling is before us.
Correct.
So it's just that little piece out, right?
I don't know if it would be before you at the 19.5 feet or the 14.5 feet, but front of the front yard, the existing or the proposed as part of the building application.
So let me just, so now your neighbors to the north, Martinez and Paraslisi, is that right?
Paralisi, yes.
Mine is Parklisi. Where is their driveway?
Their driveway is in their front yard, which would be on Leamington Street, adjacent to the fence. That's on that north side.
Do you know, was there a prior grant for that fence on the north side?
I don't know.
It goes forward to the street,
Yeah.
and it's by a driveway.
Well, it just has the permit from 2014. But this fence doesn't exist.
So
Well,
as a,
what I would just say, so the confusion that we've created here, from the gate on the north side,
hold on. Yes,
that --X line that represents fence, there is no fence forward of the front face of the house on the north side of the property. It does not exist. Yeah. Correct. Yep. Understood. The Yanowich's driveway is adjacent to the fence, just south of the fence. And I think they have a wide driveway, so I think they park many cars in their front yard. It is directly to the north side of the fence that's being proposed, 21.5 feet away from the southern property line. Correct. Exactly. It's adjacent to it. Yeah. Around 2 years. Yes.
Yes.
To match the height of the fence.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I understand this. When you dealt with the town, because of the way it's worded, it's not worded as if it's below the base flood. It's worded as if it's just below the design flood. So the town was aware that your proposal is also below the base flood.
Absolutely. Every drawing, regardless of I understand it's important to have it written correctly or clearer, but every drawing shows that the proposal and the existing are aligned at 11.7 feet, and that's really what the plan examiner is looking at.
It just got worded a little wrong.
It's wordy for sure, but every single drawing shows the height, the proposed height, the states, not the state that we just put into exhibit shows 11.7. There's no confusion in terms of where that is. Okay. All right, then the only other things I just want to make sure that we're aware of is that the north side of the property, the house itself, the addition is proposed to be 7.9 feet off the northern property line, and there's a elevated AC platform that is 2.5 feet off of that northern property line. Correct, on the side yard. So when we just read it off of the zoning analysis, it seems, in my opinion, a lot more aggressive than it actually is. We're looking to elevate the AC condensers, build a platform, there's a generator as well, and that platform is 2.5 feet from the property line, where the proposed house addition is 7.9 feet. Similarly, on the back side of the house, the rear yard, where it says proposed 4 feet, which is accurate, but there's a doorway right there and a deck, single-story open deck platform that you exit out of the house onto this platform and go down. The actual house, the rear yard that we're presenting here today is 7 feet, where the existing is 5.6. So we're even further. Right. The final thing is that we'd like to put into exhibit our letters of recognition and approval from the Paraleases, which are 2 Leamington. They live directly to the north. The Yanowiches live directly adjacent to the south. And the Perks and also the Cantors that live diagonally across the street and diagonally across the street. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So if you said it already, it's a Residence B zone, of course, it's 27.5 is allowable lot area occupied.
Right.
Am I correct that you're proposing 41.4?
No. The existing house is 1576, and the addition is another 10% because we have it at 650 square feet on a 6,500 square foot lot.
Right.
So the house is 34.4 total with the addition. And then there's a front portico, the front porch, which is 318. When we add that together, we get 39%.
So going by percentages, because you're allowed 27.5%.
Right.
It appears the existing is 24.25, and the proposal takes it up, it seems hard to believe, 41.4% lot area occupied?
Well, I don't know, again, the addition is 650 square feet, that's 10% of 6,500, that's the total lot. So we would go from 24.25 to 34.25 with just the size of the addition. Then there's the small rear deck and the front, which is 74 square feet, and the front patio, which is 318. So I think with those, everything added, we're getting to the number that you see.
You're under 38.
No,
No, 34.4 plus 3.18. Am I making, is that a miscalculation?
well, it's inconsistent with what the document is submitted.
It's 318 square feet for the front portico.
We
Sorry,
really
not
do only
portico,
go by
patio.
percentages.
So then it would be the overall, so the breakdown is what I was trying to describe. The
inaccurate.
same way I'm trying to describe the setbacks, what the setbacks are to be clear. Maybe I'm not doing it.
Did you submit the,
Go ahead.
see this chart, zoning data?
Yes.
Was that submitted by you guys?
Yes.
So I'm just reading from that.
Yeah.
It says, building area allowable 27.5, existing 24.25,
Right,
Plus 10.
proposed 41.4.
right.
So that's
That's
actually
inconsistent with,
17% greater than
Yeah.
what exists.
Because of, yes, that's correct. So when you take the house, which is the addition, which is 650 square feet, and we add the front porch, and we add the back deck, then we get to the 41. So that's the total.
how much of that calculation is the back deck? Unless my colleague already asked that question.
It's, I know you're working in percentages, and I don't have that at 74 square feet. And the front is 318 square feet. So it's close to 400 square feet of open surface, elevated, and 650 square feet of house.
Do the calculations.
So I have a question. You are before us for a side yard aggregate variance, and in going by the zoning data, side yard aggregate, you have an oversized property, so it's a percentage, right? So side yard aggregate allowable, which means required, 35 feet, right? Existing, 52 feet 6, 52.6 feet. Proposed is 35 feet. If you're proposing 35 feet,
It's compliant.
you're required to have 35 feet, then you don't need a variance for that. But you're here for a
I
variance.
think because the aggregate one side can't be less than half the other, and in this case, we have 27 on one side and a proposed of 2.5 to the
Okay.
platform on the other.
Right, but even your own materials say, don't indicate, your materials indicate wherever you need a variance. These materials indicate you don't need a variance for that. I'm just wondering, do we have the numbers wrong if you were rejected by the building department for a side yard aggregate variance, and I don't want to eliminate it on the basis that it doesn't appear you need it, and then have you need it later?
No, I think we
No.
need it. Again, this property is long and shallow, which is at odds with the residential B district zoning, which is shallow and deep. So we always need a side yard, aggregate side yard setbacks in this area. Also rear and front yard, very standard because the property is only 65 deep by 100 wide, where the zoning is really written for 60 wide and 100 deep.
Right, I think you're right about that.
So we always have the same front, rear, sometimes front, definitely rear, and usually sides because of the aggregate at least.
But if we're considering a side yard aggregate variance, and you're required 35, and you're providing 35, what would we grant if we were inclined to grant it? We would need a number. Like, we
think-
can't just say,
Oh,
do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
if you require 35, and you have 35, and we say, okay, we'll grant you a variance to have 35. If in fact you don't have 35, which is what I'm guessing, you're gonna have a nightmare later. Because your house isn't gonna provide a 35.
Well, first off, it sounds like the aggregate was done to the structure and not to the platform. Because we have a south side of 27.5 and a north side of 2.5. So that's 30 feet.
I'll just say one more time, my concern is, if we were inclined to grant this, then we say, yep, you can build your house with an aggregate side yard at 35, which is what you're already, it's as of right at 35, and your house needs an aggregate of 32, then you're gonna have a nightmare. That's the reason I'm trying to figure it out.
Right, so would it be, is it possible, if you were inclined to grant as the drawing is shown, and then we could, because that's what is prepared to be built. I don't know.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Regano, just,
Go right ahead.
I'm asking the office to verify the plot plan that was approved for the fence, the living fence, and that's forthcoming. It was a variance, but
I don't know how you, oh, I did have a question. So that fence to the north, was there a prior variance for that?
It doesn't appear so. It just looks like there's a permit number that's referenced on the drawing.
Normally,
I don't know whether that's...
even before the rule was changed, if a fence forward of the dwelling,
that's this?
there was a time where it would have been as of right at 4 feet.
Right.
In the time I've been here, there was never a time it would be as of right as, so for there to be a permit for the fence forward of the dwelling, it would have had to have been 4 feet before that was not as of right, or have a variance.
Understood, but remember, there is no fence north of the property line. Oh, I'm sorry, east of the property line on the north side.
Okay.
Okay? Any other questions from the board?
This is the... It's under application.
No. This is the one that's before us.
Yes. No questions, sir.
Okay?
Move the hearing be
Not do I
closed.
have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Everyone who signed in will receive a copy of the board's decision by mail once it's rendered. Thank you, have a nice day.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Next, we have cases 38024 through 38524. Seaford 4034 LLC. Special exception for proposed drive-through restaurant and outdoor dining. Proposed Chipotle. Demolish existing buildings. Variance in off-street parking in conjunction with proposed drive-through restaurant, Chipotle, and retail building. Special exception to park in Residence B District in conjunction with proposed Chipotle and retail building. Use variance install trash enclosure in a Residence B District with less than required side yard setback. Install detached double-face illuminated pylon sign 45 square feet per face totaling 90 square feet. Setback 5 feet from property line at Sunrise Highway in conjunction with proposed Chipotle. Install detached multi-phase illuminated digital pickup sign with 0 feet clearance from bottom of sign to grade in conjunction with proposed Chipotle, also known as 4034 Sunrise Highway. State your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. William Benesso, Fricelli, Deegan, Tarana, 333 Earl Ovington Boulevard, Uniondale, New York. Here on behalf of the applicant, Seaford 4034 LLC. The applicant is the owner of the premises known as 4034 Sunrise Highway in Seaford. It is the subject of the application today, seeking a total redevelopment of the premises in order to construct a new 2,325 square foot Chipotle restaurant with a mobile order drive-up lane, as well as a 2,000 square foot retail building. Seated to my right is Mr. Frank Filisciotto of Creighton Manning Engineering, a traffic expert who's been recognized by this board as such on numerous occasions. We also have in the room our site engineer, Mr. Mike Biancanello of Bowler Engineering, and we have principals of both the property owner, the LLC, and we have representatives from Chipotle here in the event that the board has any questions for them. As noted, the proposal is to redevelop a parcel of property on the south side of Sunrise Highway. I'd like to hand up some handouts for the board to review, giving an overview of the application and the site. I'm also going to provide Mr. Owens with copies of the traffic and parking report that was prepared by Creighton Manning. So this parcel of property is situated, again, on the south side of Sunrise Highway. It's 33,906 square feet in size. It is presently developed with 2 buildings. If you take a look at the second page of the handout, you'll see that there was a Sunset Grill, which was a bar restaurant, and then the Seaford Beverage Center. Both buildings are vacant. They're not in use at the present time, and this application will propose the demolition of those buildings and the replacement with the uses indicated. It is a property that is zoned Business X district for the first 100 feet of depth, and then it's a Residence B district. However, it's important to note that in 1956, this board granted an extension of business use for an additional 50 feet, stretching back basically to almost the entire property. It leaves about 10 feet of Residence B district property, which in our plan is all going to be landscaped area. So all of the activity is within either the business zone or the extended business area that resulted from that 1956 approval by the board. The relief required in connection with the application is for what is called a drive-through in the notice, but it's important for the board to recognize, and you may recall from the Chipotle application I did a couple of years ago for the site that's now open and operating in Westbury. Chipotle doesn't have your typical drive-through lane. The typical drive-through lane, you pull in and there are pre-menu boards, there's a menu board, and then there's an ordering station with a microphone and speakers, and you interact with somebody inside the building and you place your order. And then you pull up to there's either 1 or 2 windows. One window you might pay at, and the next window you might pick up at, or it may take place at the same window depending on the restaurant. The Chipotle lane, as they call it, is strictly a mobile order pickup lane. There is no ordering. All of the orders that are picked up at that window are pre-orders using either the app or they are phoned in. And consequently, there's no waiting in the line, there's no interaction between anyone, there's no sound from the speakers or the microphones, and you typically have shorter queues and shorter stays in the queue because the food is typically ready when you get there. And in those rare occasions when the food isn't ready, if you pull up to the window and the food's not ready, they will direct the customer to a parking space, and then they'll either bring the food out to that patron, or the patron can come back through the line. If they say it'll be ready in 5 minutes, they can come back through the line in 5 minutes and pick it up. So it's a different animal, if you will. One that is a little less intensive, and as you'll hear from Mr. Filasciotto, one that typically results in shorter queues and shorter stays. I'm told by Chipotle that the average time at the window is 30 seconds. They require a minimum queuing area of 6 spaces. This one is proposing 8 spaces before entering the queue. So this has ample queuing space for the vehicles, and again, Mr. Filasciotto will speak to that in greater detail. So we're asking for a special exception for the drive-through. We are asking for outdoor dining. There are proposed 16 seats outside in the front of the buildings. That is a special exception. We're asking for an off-street parking variance in conjunction with the uses, not because we don't have the requisite number of spaces, but because some of those spaces are either in the front yard setback or in the Residence B district, albeit, again, as pointed out before, part of that Residence B district was extended 50 feet back in 1956. We're also asking for what is deemed a use variance for the dumpster enclosure, the refuse enclosures, also in the Residence B district, but again, really in the extended business area. And then we need some sign variance relief. We are proposing a 45 square foot pylon sign totaling 90 square feet, double-faced. It will be 5 feet setback from the property line, whereas 20 feet is required and 32 square feet is the permitted. That said,
Is that pylon or monument?
it's a pylon, I believe. Hold on a
Because
second.
it has no, is that sign number 2?
I don't think Steppe's gonna do that. You know, do it.
Oh, right. Okay. If you look at page,
Brian,
I'm looking at the actual,
Maybe you
like,
could talk to
the
Stanley.
site plan.
the
I'm
cousins,
sorry. It's actually here, 1 second.
Stanley and,
I think it's sign 2, setback
Yes.
5 feet, no clearance.
Yes, it
and
is.
on the site plan it's called
It is
ground-
it is a pylon. The space below the sign is 10 feet high,
Which
so
one
it's
is
not.
it on the site plan, Mr. Vanessa?
May I approach?
You could just tell me, okay.
Yeah, sign 2 all the way over. Left side.
Sign 2, proposed ground sign.
Well, it's a ground sign because it's a freestanding sign. It doesn't mean it's a monument.
cemented
But
in.
it has 0 clearance, isn't it?
No, it doesn't. Where does it say 0 clearance?
Hold on.
No, it has 10-foot clearance below it. I can show you a detail if you'd like. Well, it's a ground sign, it's not a monument sign. A ground sign is a freestanding sign that is planted in the ground, not on a building. So it is a ground sign, but it's not a monument sign. It is a pylon sign on a pole. The pole is 10 feet tall, and then the sign sits atop that. The sign is basically 9 by 5, 45 feet per side. 32 square feet is permitted per side, so we're asking for a slightly larger sign than permitted. And then there's a 20-foot setback requirement. We're asking for a 5-foot setback, because 20 foot would put us into the parking lot or up against the side of the building to the west.
I'm
which
sorry, what was the overall
it would
height of
not be.
that sign?
The height of the sign is 15, that's compliant.
Okay, because in your chart it says, all right. I have a question. So did you say earlier that if we were to grant, if we were to grant parking in Res B, then we wouldn't need to grant a variance because you'd have enough spots?
Yes, correct. We have the requisite number of spots. The site between the retail and the restaurant requires 36 spaces, and we have 36 spaces. But again, because some of those spaces are in the Residence B district, even though there's the business depth extension that was granted in the past, it is technically relief that we are seeking. But that space, that area has been used for business purposes since 1956. Then there's some other sign relief pertaining to the a detached multi-face illuminated digital pickup sign with 0 feet clearance from the bottom. That one is considered a monument sign because it's not a pole with a sign on top. But
Which
that-
one is that on the site plan?
Yeah, that's at the entrance to the pickup lane.
Wait, what number is it on the sign?
It is number 4, I believe. Yeah, that's the pickup post.
I see it.
So that's the relief required. That being said, we consider, certainly, and obviously we're biased, but we consider this a significant improvement to this site. It's going to add a lot more landscaped areas to the site. It's doing away, as again, as Mr. Filosciotto will elaborate, it's doing away with 4 curb cuts and creating 2 directioned curb cuts on the property for better traffic interaction with Sunrise Highway. It's going to have more than adequate parking. It's got good site circulation. So consequently, it's a significant upgrade in use and appearance. The sites, the Chipotle hours, they are open 7 days a week from 10:45 a.m. to 10 p.m. That said, the employees get there quite a bit earlier because everything they do is made fresh that day. They get there around 8 a.m., but it will open for business at 10:45 a.m. and close at 10 p.m. 7 days a week, and it's the same for the drive-up window. There'll be 2 shifts of employees, anywhere from 8 to 10 employees at the peak times. Deliveries will typically occur before 8 a.m. They are very quick and to the point. Takes about 10 minutes, 4 or 5 days a week. Many of the deliveries are 20-foot trucks. Typically 1 day a week there'll be a 52-foot tractor trailer that'll come on site for delivery. But again, the site circulation will work for that. And then refuse will be private carting. They can control the hours of pickup during those times. That's pretty much it in terms of the overview.
How will the refuse pickups, the trucks access the site and the deliveries on Sunrise Highway?
How will the trucks access the property?
Yes.
They'll enter the property from Sunrise Highway.
Okay, and not on a side street?
No. There is no other
No
street
curb cut.
that provides, that is adjacent to this property. There are residences behind this property whom we've reached out to
See that.
and have had very good feedback with. There's no opposition from any of them. We've also discussed the project with the neighboring property owner. It's an electronics Sight and Sounds, I believe it's called. We've discussed it with that property owner, and he's all in favor of the application as well. So that being said, I'll turn it over to Mr. Filosciotto to provide his testimony in connection with the traffic and parking study he performed.
Mr. Vanessa, can you just tell, you have the use variance for the trash receptacle in the Res B?
Res B.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's here, I'm just not seeing it. Oh, I think I just found it. It's back on the southeast corner, is that, it's not marked, but it looks like it's trash.
Yeah, it's 30 feet from the rear property line, and I'll say again, it is in the Residence B district, but that Residence B district was extended, or the business use of that Residence B district was extended in 1956 as part of a prior approval, and that area has been approved for commercial use. So as much as it's called out as a use variance, we would say that this area has been used commercially since 1956.
How long, I know you know, Mr. Vanessa, one issue sometimes with the trash near the residence, beside, other issues, is the sound of the truck, at 6 in the morning, dropping glass bottles. How often is there going to be trash pickup,
Well, it'll depend on how busy the store is, but let me
What are the estimates dictate?
It could be as much as 4 to 5 times a week, but because it's private carting and it's going to be handled by the landlord, they can control the times that it gets picked up, so we can accept conditions on hours for.
Where it's not going to.
Yeah, where it's not going to be 3 o'clock in the morning and stuff like that. Correct.
Is there a reason, because the other side, there are also residents, the other side has, some kind of auto store or something.
Well, not behind it.
Both sides have neighbors behind it, so I don't know.
Yeah, behind the property, you have residences on both sides. Next door is the electronics store. That's to the west, and to the east, you've got Nassau Properties wooded area.
And when the deliveries come, I know the chairman asked, they're gonna not just access this up from Sunrise, but they're gonna pull onto the premises, not walk in.
Oh, no, they'll be on the premises. They will pull onto the premises, and depending, I don't know whether there are entrances in the rear and the front. They may do their deliveries in the front or on the side. There's a side entrance. Actually, that's the retail building. So for the Chipotle, it'll probably be in the rear. And as for the retail building, they could either do it from the side or the rear.
Would your client accept a condition that, we've had in the past, when the diesels come and they sit there for a half an hour and idle? No idling?
No idling?
Yeah.
I mean, it really
Yeah,
isn't,
that's
it's an issue for neighbors,
All
as
right.
you know.
That's
That-
acceptable.
They agree.
If there's nothing else, I'll turn it over to Mr. Filishotto.
Thank you.
Hello, you have previously been qualified by this board as an expert on traffic and parking, is that correct?
Yes.
And since the last time we qualified you, have any of your qualifications changed?
No.
We will again qualify you as an expert in traffic and parking, and you're free to testify.
Thank you, sir. Good
Welcome.
afternoon, Chairman, members of the board. Just for the record, again, Frank Filiciotto, F as in Frank, I-L-I-C-I-O-T-T-O, firm Creighton Manning Engineering, offices at 2 William Street, White Plains, New York, 10601. I am a licensed professional engineer in the state of New York. We prepared a May 31st, 2024 report, which I believe you have in front of you. This project is pretty straightforward from my standpoint when it comes to traffic and parking. As Mr. Bonesso noted, we are code compliant with the number of parking spaces, so we satisfy that element of the project. The key thing to note about this application is that we're on the south side of Sunrise Highway, which is a divided highway in this section of roadway. Therefore, the only circulation in and out of this site is a right turn in and a right turn out. And currently the site has 4 driveways, all of which allow for a right in and a right out. So 8 total movements. What we're proposing as part of this site plan, not only is it a consolidation of land uses, but it's also a consolidation of access. We're removing all 4 existing driveways and re-establishing 2 points of access. One will be a right-in only, and the other will be a right-out only. So we're going from 8 turning maneuvers to 2. Considerable consolidation of access. It's in line with what the New York State Department of Transportation looks for when they evaluate developments such as this. So from that standpoint, it's positive. We also looked at site distance for the driveway that we are proposing for egress, which is at the far east end of the property, and it satisfies intersection and stopping site distance requirements. In terms of internal circulation, it's more or less a counterclockwise flow. You'll come in on the west side of the site. You'll have the opportunity to park in one of the angled spaces. You could circulate to the rear. There's more parking back there, and then along the east side, and then you could leave. There's also a recirculation aisle in front of the building, which would enable anyone who maybe passes up a parking spot and then decides that they want to park there to recirculate around. It also enables someone who has used the pickup window to park anywhere on the site after they pick up their food if they wanted to eat it in their car. In terms of the drive-up lane, it is, again, not a traditional drive-through operation. There is no ordering done in the lane itself. It's strictly for pre-orders that are done via mobile app or website or phone. So what that translates into traffic circulation-wise is far less, not only demand in the drive-through area, but also far less queuing due to the fact that you don't have that many people using it, and the people who are using it are there for a shorter duration of time. The longest queue that I've personally observed, and I've studied 2 sites, one in Westchester County, one in Paramus, New Jersey, And we've also reviewed reports by another engineering firm of 2 Chipotlane sites in Ohio. The longest queue that's been documented that I've seen is 7 vehicles. We have storage for 8. That maximum 7-car queue only occurred once during our observations. The average was 4. So we believe we have plenty of circulation on the site to accommodate this use without any conflicts on the site. And again, we are code compliant from a parking standpoint. In terms of traffic, again, right in, right out on Sunrise Highway, the increase in traffic associated with this project is less than 0.5% of the traffic that's using the roadway today. So again, we don't anticipate an adverse impact. We are removing 2 uses that are currently active and replacing it with a cleaner site from a circulation and traffic standpoint. Happy to answer any questions that you might have. Yes, sir. I wasn't able to hear you, I'm sorry. Yes.
The retail space next to the Chipotle restaurant.
Yes.
What if it's a busy type of store? How many more cars is that going to bring?
That was all analyzed as part of the study, so I apologize if my main emphasis was on the Chipotle use. But the retail establishment will be a non-food use. It'll be essentially it could really be any dry retail. And we factored that in terms of the traffic analysis. So what you see there includes not only the trips associated with Chipotle, but also the retail. And the parking calculation is based on the max required for both the Chipotle and the retail. So the site will function as one site, 2 uses. The parking is shared, and there's adequate circulation for both uses.
And I would add to that, if it were to be proposed for use as something other than either retail or office or something that requires a parking standard of 1 space per 200, we would have to come back to this board to present that. If it was a use that was a public assembly use and required 1 space per 150 square feet, or some sort of food service like a restaurant or takeout place that had more than 12 seats, that would require us to come back to this board. If there are no further questions of Mr. Filisciotto, did you have a question, Ms.? I'm sorry. That's our direct presentation. Nassau County Planning Commission recommended local determination.
Here, who would like to speak on this application? I don't believe so. So I guess, Mr. Benesso, can I have a motion from one of the board members?
Mr. Chairman, I would just move that the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Mr. Benesso, you and everyone else who signed in on this matter will receive a copy of the board's decision by mail once it's rendered. Thank you. Everyone have a nice day.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. I love the laminated photographs. It excites me. What can I?
Next, we have case 38624 Roosevelt Marty Homes LLC. Variances subdivision of lot area, front width from and on street line to front setback line. Construct dwelling with garage, lot B. Demolish existing dwelling. Formerly known as 24 Bainbridge Street. We also have case 38724 Roosevelt Marty Homes LLC. Variances subdivision of lot area, front width from and on street line to front setback line. Construct dwelling with garage, lot A. East side Bainbridge Street, 250 feet south of Frederick Avenue.
Yes.
Please take a seat and state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Appearing for the applicant, Howard Avertine, 2116 Merrick Avenue in Merrick.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. It's Michael Lynch. Here's the real estate expert, 15 Dewey Street, Huntington, New York.
This is the application of Marty Homes, LLC, for variances required in order to subdivide a parcel of property into 2 parcels and to construct a new single-family dwelling on each. The premises under application is located on the easterly side of Bainbridge Street, 200 feet south of Frederick Avenue in Roosevelt. It has a street address of 24 Bainbridge Street. It is also known as Section 55, Block 290, lots 726 through 730 on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. The property has dimensions of 100 feet in width by 100 feet in depth and a total lot area of 10,000 square feet. The premises was previously developed with a two-family dwelling which was constructed in the 1920s and was demolished upon being acquired by the applicant as it was in very poor physical condition. By this application, the applicant seeks variances required in order to construct two new single-family dwellings, each on a parcel with dimensions of 50 feet in width by 100 feet in depth. The property is located in the Residence B zoning district. The required variances are for lot area, 6,000 square feet required with 5,000 square feet proposed, and width of lot, 55 feet required, 50 feet proposed. The proposal is in conformity with the surrounding area, and we submit that no adverse impacts will result. We've proposed appropriately sized homes for the property, colonial-style dwelling. Significantly, we're well below the maximum lot coverage. The proposal does not include cellar entrance. There's no outside cellar entrance to the homes. The applicant did consult with the surrounding neighbors, and all of the neighbors indicated that they were very pleased about the new development, the potential new development, in as much as the prior home that was in very poor condition proved to be problematic for the surrounding community. That home, as I indicated, has been demolished, and the applicant is now here to proceed with this application. Unless the board has questions of me at this time, I would introduce Michael Lynch to testify regarding area character and real estate values.
Mr. Lynch, you have previously been qualified by this board as being a real estate expert, and most recently, probably less than a month ago. Since the last time you were qualified as a real estate expert, have any of your qualifications changed for the worse?
No, sir.
Okay, so we will then allow you to once again testify as a real estate expert as to property values. Okay, you are free to testify.
Thank
sir.
you, Mr. Chairman. Before I begin, I have some exhibits I'd like to hand up. I have a markup of the radius map showing the substandard lots within the radius. And I have several sets of panels of photographs of the subject property, of which I took approximately 2 weeks ago of the subject property and the surrounding neighborhood. And those photos do accurately depict the surrounding area.
Mr. Avertine, are the houses proposed the same if I look at one set of plans?
Yes, Mrs. D'Amato.
Identical, so,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
So I was out to the property approximately 2 weeks ago, and I walked the property, I took photographs of the surrounding neighborhood. As you know, the property is known as 24 Bainbridge Street in Roosevelt. It's a section block and lot of 55, 290, lots 726 to 730. It's a 100 by 100-foot lot, overall parcel. It was formerly improved with an older two-family residence that was in a state of disrepair and has since been raised. This is an older section of Roosevelt, comprised of lots ranging anywhere from 40 by 100 up to 100 by 100, which is the subject lot. It's important to note that there are no other lots of this size in the immediate radii.
Smart move.
There's a mix of ranches, capes, small colonials, and high ranches. If we go through the radius map that I've marked up, within the 100-foot radius, there are 19 lots. Of the 19 lots, there are 11 40-foot lots, which represents 58% of the overall mix within the 100-foot radius.
That one's a no-brainer.
Within the section and block of the subject, there are 18 parcels. Of those 18, 11 are substandard, which is 61%. And on Bainbridge Street itself, there are 12 parcels, of which 7 are substandard, which is 58%. As you can see in the radius map, to the south of us, we're abutted by a 40 by 100. Adjacent to the rear of us on Manhattan Avenue, we have 4 40 by 100-foot lots. Opposite the property, there's an 80-foot lot. Abutting to the north of us is a 60-foot lot, and diagonally opposite to the northwest are 2 40-foot lots. But again, the area is overwhelmingly comprised of substandard lots, not only in the 100-foot radius, but on Bainbridge Street, as well as within the immediate section and block. As described, the proposal for both lots are for identical small colonial-style dwellings. They will contain 8 rooms, 4 bedrooms, and 3 full baths. There'll be a full basement without any outside entry. There'll be a 1-car built-in garage, and there'll be a driveway that'll suitably park 2 cars. This gross building area is approximately 2,075 square feet with a gross living area of 1,875 square feet. And as Mr. Abertine described, the lot area coverage is only 21.9%, which is allowed up to 27.5%, so we're significantly below the allowable lot coverage. In sum, the plan is consistent with the overall character and pattern of development in the area along the immediate radii on Bainbridge Street, Manhattan Avenue, and Decatur Street, as well as Frederick Avenue. The new home on Lot A on a 50-foot by 100-foot lot will have an estimated sale price of $700,000 to $750,000, which will only help to raise the median values in the neighborhood for those 2 new homes. With respect to the other standards, the relief is not standard when taken in context with the immediate surrounding lots and the pattern of development. I'm sorry. It's not substantial, the relief, with respect to that standard in context with the immediate surrounding area and tax block. The 2 new homes will not overburden the environmental conditions in the area. Again, there was a former 2-family property, residence on the property. We're only effectively adding 1 new home here. And without relief from this board, the application could not be approved without permission from this board. So overall, the application, if approved, will be positive development in the immediate area of Roosevelt, will not cause any diminution of value to surrounding property values, and will not adversely impact the existing pattern of development. Again, this is overwhelmingly in keeping with the pattern of development in the area as I described, and there are no other parcels of this size in the either 100 or 200-foot radii. I also have some decisions I'd like to hand in that are within the immediate area. Some go back to the 1950s, but there's some more recent 2021, 2018, and 2023 decisions in the immediate area. And that concludes my presentation.
We're here to answer any questions the board may have.
Mr. Chairman, I would just move that the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Mr. Avertine and everyone else who signed in on the case will receive a copy of the board's decision by mail once it's rendered. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Understood, Mr. Chairman. I'll work at it.
Steph, you good? Or you want to take a break? You want, yeah. John? Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
5-minute break?
5-minute break? You okay? All right. We're going to call a 5-minute break, 5 to 10-minute break. We shall return. No, I can't call no more.
Yes, the 30 days. Got it. Got it. Yeah, I know. I have a cell tower case coming up. It's not on the calendar yet, but I know the lawyer said we're gonna have to put this in now. So, thanks for the heads up. This is the, yeah, that's the old two-family. Yep. No, I'm just.
Oh, I thought you meant.
No, no.
You wanted to talk to me about the
No,
case.
no, no.
So, you know, I'm not taking on as much these days. And so, I'm trying to find a new equilibrium for myself.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm doing the same thing.
Because, you know, too many people are dying.
You saw. What? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I wasn't sure.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Would have, but they didn't.
You heard about John passed.
I did. He was older though.
He was 67.
67. It's not older.
I'm not that
No,
far.
me neither. I'm 65. I know. That's what I'm saying.
I just turned 63.
It's, you know, and
But he, you know, I'd visit John maybe once a month. I'd stop in and see him.
he was sick for a while, right?
Yeah, he was diagnosed last summer. And he would say, you know, Mike, he goes, if I knew better, I would have.
Sure.
Because he worked like
Yes, we
crazy.
know.
like a chicken, you know.
Yeah, but, you know, but.
There's
I
a
was
there's a
talking-
happy medium.
If you
You
can
have to s-
find it,
Yeah.
not everybody can. And when you work, you know, for 35 years, you know, that way, you really don't have time for a lot of other pursuits. You're raising a family, you're earning to pay for college, you work.
Still doing it, I can't.
Yeah, I'm just saying, so then comes a time, okay, now I want to slow down, but how am I going to spend my time? You know?
My
I don't play golf. I don't, you know, I never had time
Hobbies.
to do the things that everybody says you're supposed to do now. So, and I really don't have any interest in them either.
Yeah, and it keeps your mind. You like, I mean,
Yeah, I want to do some stuff. That's what I'm saying. I want to do interesting things, but what I don't want is anxiety.
well, you live down in the
associated with it.
beach community,
Yes,
now, right? That's
and
nice.
we're just closing on a place in Florida in a couple of weeks, which we're going to use in the winter. And, you know,
Near Barry,
no.
Naples.
No, this is on the East Coast. Well, not on the
He was
East
telling me
Coast.
that Fisher lives in Naples.
Yeah, Naples is beautiful.
Yeah, he's so far inland, Barry. He wasn't really affected by that hurricane. It's hot though, man.
Well, I'm not going to spend winter.
The East Coast is.
I mean,
I find the East Coast of Florida is because you get the ocean breeze.
yeah, well, you know, in the summer it's hot.
It's hot here too, right?
Not as hot as.
No, the
And
sun is
I
intense.
live in Point Lookout, and most of the summer, it's, you know, you could be broiling inland.
I know, it's not.
But down there,
Because I know when
it's perfect.
I'll take the Seaford Oyster Bay from Huntington, you know, and all of a sudden I'll see my temperature gauge and my
Yes.
car will drop as
Yeah, 10 degrees,
Yeah.
typically, for
as
sure.
as you get near
Any-
Seaford.
Yeah,
you
sure.
know.
Any of the, you know, so we're gonna spend big chunks of the winter down there. I'll work remotely. I'll come up if I have to come up for a hearing, you know, during the winter, or I'll just try to keep them, postpone them until after I come back, or not take them on,
Yeah.
so that I can do all of that.
Hey, I got a car wash case coming up next week in Oyster Bay with Tom Body.
Ah.
They don't like car wash.
Where?
On 106 in Oyster Bay, Hamlet. By the near the old BMW that's
That's a
closed
tough
now.
road for that.
Yeah, but there's a need. There's a huge need
I'm
for a
not
car
saying
wash.
no, I'm just
Yeah.
saying is it 2 lanes in each direction here, or just one? You know, who's he's using? I guess he has a traffic guy.
Yeah, you know who's
That
doing
or-
it? Aaron. You know Aaron McTay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
He works with,
He works with Patrick, who's the other? He used to work with Bob,
Right,
who
right.
just retired.
right, he's with, what's the name of
What's
the
that company?
Yeah.
It's three
I know,
letters.
We can't remember any goddamn thing.
No, yeah, well, you know, Aaron used to work.
What?
That's all right. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it's, what's Aaron? Aaron used to work with Wayne. And then- Yeah, there's Patrick, who's the big guy.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, does a good job. I did a case. Yeah.
Good. How about you guys? Everybody well? Exciting. How old are you? Is that your first one?
Chicago's a neat town in the summer. I went,
And you'll find very soon that when she comes to visit, your house is going to be a baby removed items. Like the packet tray.
Next, we have case 38824, Roosevelt Marty Homes LLC. Variances subdivision of lot area, front width from and on street line to front setback line, construct dwelling with garage. East side of Union Street, 125 feet south of Forest Avenue, as well as case 38924, Roosevelt Marty Homes LLC. Variances subdivision of lot area, front width from and on street line to front setback line, maintained dwelling on lesser lot, also known as 10 Union Street. Gentlemen, I have you sworn in from earlier. Just your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Chairman, members and the board. Appearing for the applicant, Howard Avertine, 2116 Merrick Avenue, Merrick.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. It's Michael Lynch at 15 Dewey Street, Huntington, New York. Here is the real estate expert.
This is the application of Marty Homes LLC for variances required in order to subdivide a parcel into 2 lots and to construct a new single-family dwelling and maintain an existing single-family dwelling. The premises under application is located on the easterly side of Union Street, 125 feet south of Forest Avenue in Roosevelt. It has a street address of 10 Union Street. It is also known as Section 55, Block 340, Lots 162 and 163 on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. The property has dimensions of 90 feet in width by 125 feet in depth and a total lot area of 11,250 square feet. It is developed with a legally non-conforming single-family dwelling, which, according to town and county records, was constructed in the late 1920s. By this application, the applicant seeks to subdivide the premises into 2 parcels, one on which the existing dwelling will remain, and one on which the new colonial-style single-family dwelling is proposed in accordance with the plans filed before the board. Yes, sir. A little bit different, not identical, but the layout is the same. As far as the bedrooms and the living space on both floors, but the dimensions are not identical. In addition, on the maintain portion of the application, there is a frame detached garage on the westerly side, the easterly side of the property, that's the rear, and that is to be maintained, although a shed adjacent to it is to be removed. The variances required are for lot area. It's the Residence B zoning district, 6,000 square feet required, 5,625 square feet provided, and lot width, 55 feet required, 45 feet proposed. The proposal does conform with the surrounding area, as Mr. Lynch will get into in greater detail during his testimony, and it will upgrade the property with no corresponding detriment. It is an appropriately sized home for the parcel. Again, the maintained parcel will have lot coverage of 24% with a maximum of 27.5 permitted. The parcel on which the new home will be constructed has lot coverage of 19.9%, where the 27.5% is the maximum permitted. The applicant has spoken with the surrounding residents, and they are pleased with the proposed development and the introduction of a new colonial-style single-family dwelling to the block. Unless the board has questions of me at this time, I'll introduce Michael Lynch to testify.
Have any of the adjoining landowners signed letters in favor of the application?
I don't have anything signed, but he did, the applicant, Mr. Marty, the principal of the applicant, indicated that he did speak to them and that they voiced no objections whatsoever.
Double hearsay?
I'm sorry?
Is that considered double hearsay?
Well,
Since Mr. Marty is not even
it's-
testifying?
He is here if we want to.
I know he is.
Yes.
Okay. Since the last time you were qualified by this board as a real estate expert, which was about 20 minutes ago, have any of your qualifications changed? For
No,
the
sir.
worse?
No, sir.
Then we will once again allow you to testify as a real estate expert.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman.
You're
Members of
welcome.
the board. It's Michael Lynch again, 15 Dewey Street, Huntington, New York. I was out to visit this property approximately 2 weeks ago. I took a series of photographs that accurately depict the property as well as the surrounding neighborhood. I have exhibits I'd like to submit,
We'll accept those in evidence.
as well as a radius map that I've marked up of the other lots in the immediate radii.
Mhm.
As Mr. Albertine indicated, it's known as 10 Union Street in Roosevelt, this property. It's an older section of Roosevelt. The lot itself is 90 feet of frontage. The parcel overall is 90 feet of width by 125 feet of depth. It's improved with a 1920s stucco bungalow containing 6 rooms, 3 bedrooms and 1 bath, as well as a detached 1-car garage, and the applicant is looking to maintain that bungalow in the subdivision process, whereas Lot A will contain the newly built colonial-style dwelling. So as you can see in the radius map that I've marked up, the area is a sea of red. So the property is completely surrounded by other lots of like size. It's abutted at its rear by 2 45-foot like parcels that we're proposing. It's opposite to its west on Union Street, also 2 45-foot lots. Just to the south of us, there is the village of Freeport. Those lots, however, are partially within the town of Hempstead. And again, the area is 100% within the 100-foot radius, comprised of lots either 50 feet or 45 feet in width. If we take the 100-foot radius, there are 19 overall lots. 16 are substandard in lot area and/or lot width. There's 4 45-foot lots and 12 50-foot lots. So again, 84% within the 100-foot radius. If we go to the 200-foot radius, there are 35 lots, of which 27 are of like size, or 77%. As you know, we're in the B zone, which requires a minimum of 6,000 square feet or 55 feet minimum width. Again, we're looking to subdivide this property. We need relief for both width and lot area for both lots, which would be 45 by 125 feet in depth, each comprised of 5,625 square feet. We'd have lot area coverage, which we conform to. The new house will only have a 19.9% lot coverage ratio, where we're allowed 27%, 27.5% rather. The existing home with its detached garage would have a 24% lot coverage. We're again under the 27.5% allowed. The new parcel, Lot A, for the new construction would be a similar colonial to what's prevalent in Roosevelt. With new construction, it would be 8 rooms, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. There'd be a full basement, no outside entry, a 1-car built-in garage, and a driveway that's suitable for 2-car park. Gross building area of approximately 2,000 square feet with an 1,815 gross living area. Again, a lot area coverage of 19.9%. And Lot B would contain, as noted, the existing 6-room bungalow along with the detached 1-car garage. And that residence would be refurbished. The selling price for the new home would be approximately $700,000, and the bungalow refurbished will have approximately a sale price of $550,000. both of which will not harm median values in the area. In fact, will only help to raise median values. The requested relief for both lots are not substantial, again, in context with the overwhelming character of the area. All the surrounding lots are either 45 or 50 foot in width. We will not overburden the environment. Again, we're adding just one home, so there'll be no overburdening of environmental conditions in the area. And the application cannot be achieved without relief from this board for both lots. So overall, the application, should it be approved, will be a positive development in the immediate area of Roosevelt and will not cause a deleterious effect to nearby property values or to the existing pattern of development. And I can answer any questions at this time if the board has any. Oh, I also have some nearby zoning grants by this board of, over the years that were approved in the immediate area, as long as a more recent one from 2006. Thank you.
I have nothing further unless the board has any questions.
Mrs. D'Amato,
Yes.
think of something.
Question.
Is that your case?
Is that your
Yes.
case?
Yes, it is.
Good one.
Any other questions for the board? If not, do I have a motion?
Move the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Mr. Lynch, Mr. Avertine, your client, you all receive a copy of the board's decision by mail once it's rendered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Next, we have cases 19024 through 19324 near Bethpage, 420 Wanto Avenue Incorporated. Variance front yard setback on Hicksville Road to install dumpster enclosure. Special exception to install drive-through window for proposed Dunkin' Donuts. Variance in off-street parking. Special exception to maintain 2 storage containers and 3 sheds with rear yard setback variance. Install second detached illuminated animated sign pre-menu board with a clearance of 1 foot 8 inches from grade to bottom of sign in conjunction with proposed drive-through. Install third detached illuminated animated sign menu board with clearance of 1 foot 8 inches from grade to bottom of sign in conjunction with proposed drive-through, also known as 420 through 442 North Wanto Avenue. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. Please take a seat and state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. William Benesso for Chelly Deegan Tarana, 333 Earl Ovington Boulevard, Uniondale, New York. Here on behalf of the applicant, 420 Wantaw Avenue, Inc. The applicant is the owner of the premises known as 420 through 442 North Wantaw Avenue in the Hempstead portion of Bethpage. The seated to my left is Mr. Barry Nelson, a real estate expert recognized by this board on hundreds of occasions and authorized to provide expert testimony in terms of real estate values, impact on neighborhoods, and the character of the community. Seated to my right is Mr. Ethan Chukowski, a transportation engineer who has been qualified by this board on multiple occasions. He is with Atlantic Traffic as a traffic expert, permitted to provide opinion testimony in connection with traffic and parking issues. Behind me in the front row are representatives of our owners and operators of multiple Dunkin' Donuts stores, including the one to the north of this site, which is going to close. Should this application be approved, that one will close, and this one, they will operate and own that store. And then we also have Mike Bianconello from Bowler Engineering, our site engineering firm, who is also here to provide any information the board may need.
Hold it.
The property in question is situated on on 2 frontages, Wantaw Avenue. It's on the east side of Wantaw Avenue and the west side of Hicksville Road, otherwise known as Route 107. In the Bethpage portion of Hempstead, or the Hempstead portion of Bethpage. It is an existing trapezoidal parcel that is developed with a small shopping center. It maintains on the Wantagh Avenue side 2 curb cuts, both of which are unrestricted. One is at the north end of the property, allows lefts in, lefts out, rights in, rights out. One is in the middle of the property on Wantagh Avenue, again providing lefts in, lefts out, rights in, rights out. And then on the Hicksville Road side, there's a curb cut which is also unrestricted, but it is controlled by an existing traffic light. To the north of the premises is a gasoline service station. There is a curb cut that links the two from our property to that property. Under this application, that access point will be closed. The proposal before the board is seeking relief to permit the introduction of a one-story, 1,133 square foot drive-through only Dunkin' Donuts. It will not have seating inside. It will not have seating outside. It is strictly a drive-through with a walk-up window, albeit about less than 10% of their business occurs at the walk-up window. But if somebody wanted to, and it typically happens if somebody's ordered on the app and they don't want to wait in the drive-through line, they can park and get up and go to the drive-through window. About 30% of Dunkin's business now is done on the app. But the vast majority, over 90% of the activity will be in the drive-through lane. This is a proposal to introduce a drive-through only Dunkin' Donuts. Now, the application may look familiar to some of the people who have been on the board for a while, and that's because in 2011, and I'll provide the board with copies of the decisions, case numbers 939 through 950 of 2010, the board granted relief that was almost identical to the relief that is being sought here, with the only difference being that this is less intensive in terms of the relief being sought. Specifically, case number 939 proposed a special exception for a Checkers with 2 drive-through lanes. The Checkers have the double drive-through lanes. This will only have 1 drive-through lane. Case 940, outdoor dining for 16 seats. We are proposing no outdoor dining. Case 941, a front yard setback variance for the refuse enclosure adjacent to Hicksville Road. We are proposing a dumpster enclosure adjacent to Hicksville Road and seeking a variance for that. Parking in the front yard setback for Wantagh Avenue and Hicksville Road, and a parking variance. We are proposing the same thing, albeit in that case, the parking deficiency was some 30%, and we're at a parking deficiency of 27%, comparing the number of parking spaces required versus the number of parking spaces provided. So it's a less impactful parking variance. The site actually operates, the required amount of parking for the plan is 161 spaces. We're proposing 116. But the site currently is legal with 129 spaces. There are 129 spaces on the site. In order to build the proposed Dunkin' Donuts, we will be removing 11 of those. So it will leave us with 118 parking spaces. The prior application, which was for the Checkers, had 129 parking spaces, but was taking away more parking spaces. That was going to leave only 116 parking spaces. So that one was taking away 11. We're taking away 9. The other relief was for 2 menu board signs, a pre-menu board and a menu board. We're asking for pre-menu board and a menu board. The notice is a little odd because it says install second detached illuminated animated sign and install third detached illuminated animated sign. That's because our ordering stanchion, I guess, is what they consider the first sign, but it is not a sign at all. There's no signage on it. It's strictly a stanchion where the microphone and the speaker will be. So the actual signs are the pre-menu board and the menu board at the ordering stanchion. And the other relief that was part of that application, case number 943 was for a flagpole, 944 was for a clearance sign, 945 and 946 were for pylon signs, which are the only things that were actually built as a result of the 2011 approvals, and then some directional signs associated with the drive-through. So the pylon signs are built and are at each entrance of the property.
Is one on the site plan where it seems to say, no sign on brick base by the entrance on Wantagh?
I'm sorry? It says
On Wantagh, there is what I would think is a sign, and then it appears to say, I don't know, no sign on brick base?
Which one? Are you talking about on Hicksville Road or Wantagh Avenue?
Wantagh Avenue.
Wantagh Avenue. I don't know.
It's drawn as most all signs before us are, and in a location that I would think it's a sign. The note just seems to say, as best I can read, no sign on brick base.
May I approach? So I can see where you're... Oh, it says ID sign on brick base. That's what it says. That's an existing sign that was approved back in 2011, along with the other sign that is basically identical to it on the Hicksville Road side. So that relief has already been granted. We're not asking for any additional pylon signs.
Disrupting you, and I apologize.
No, that's all right.
This relief for maintaining 2 storage containers and 3 sheds in the rear yard
Yes.
setback?
Yeah, there's some sheds and containers at the south end of the strip center. They're basically there, they serve the tenants and they provide extra storage space for them. We're simply seeking to legalize them and keep them. They back up to auto repair and auto servicing businesses, and they're really not visible from anywhere other than walking around to the back of the building.
Are these metal storage container?
Yeah, there's a metal storage container, and then there's some sheds. Yeah, we have pictures.
And they want to keep them there permanently?
Well, they're asking to legalize them. We understand that, the board may not have the jurisdiction to permit a container, a metal container, as a permitted structure. This is the relief that they were seeking. That's the owner of the property seeking that. If that's not something that the board can grant, then they'll have to remove it.
You're not attempting to legalize all of those,
Yeah,
all of those dumpsters?
Yes,
they're not dumpsters.
not dumpsters. The sheds
storage.
and the sheds and the
2 storage containers and
containers.
3 sheds, right?
But they're not all for your client.
No, they're not for Dunkin' Donuts. The applicant is 420 Wantagh Avenue, Inc. That's the owner of the shopping center.
I see.
So that is a throw-in, if you
Is
will.
the Dunkin' Donuts applicant here too?
The Dunkin' Donuts owners and operators are here, yes.
And is the property owner here, or just your?
Property owner is not here. I'm representing the property owner.
When do you think he'll clean this up?
What? They're-
So, Mr.
If the
Benesso,
board denies them, we'll have to remove them.
Mr. Benesso, so, hold on. The applicant, 420 Wantagh, is the property owner.
Correct.
So the operator of Dunkin' Donuts isn't before us.
Well, they are here.
I'm just thinking
But-
of how we
but
can
on-
bind them to conditions.
We provided a copy of the lease to the board and a disclosure for the tenant that would be the operator of the building.
And do
So they
you-
have contractual interest in the property.
Right, do you represent their interest also?
Yes.
So if we were to ask you, like, would they accept this condition, you're in a position
Oh, yes.
to bind them in that regard?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah, and they're here, they can answer questions.
Understood.
And they're prepared to testify and provide answers as well. So, as I was saying, and if the board determines that we should remove them, we will remove them.
Actually, Mr. Pellegrini brings up a good point. So you're asking to legalize these 2 containers, 3 sheds. You've seen these photos, or you?
I have.
Okay.
I have. Mr.
Is
Nelson
that what
has
they look like now?
Yes.
And are you proposing to legalize them looking like that, or?
That's what the property owner asked to be legalized, correct.
And what about the pieces that aren't sheds or containers, like a 50-gallon drum, and then there's like a medicine cabinet of sorts, or something, like a store cabinet? Is there
Anything
any?
that's not a structure, the board can't legalize.
Does your client intend on, with this project, cleaning up the miscellaneous large debris? Or?
I have suggested that to him, and hopefully he will do that.
It's been this way for years.
Okay, well,
Yes. Correct. Correct. So going back to the application, again, the So again, the only differences that I would say are occurring on this site plan versus the old site plan that this board approved are actually improvements. Number one, we only have a single drive-through, whereas the Checkers had a double drive-through. Number two, our drive-through has an escape lane, which is a very good thing to have for drive-throughs because it gives the people in the queue the ability to leave the queue if they have to. They're not trapped there in the event that something occurs and they need to get out. Number three, and this is a very important one, the northerly curb cut that the drive-through will basically align with, that curb cut right now is an unrestricted curb cut. It's lefts in, lefts out, rights in, rights out. The proposal here is to directionalize that to be a right turn out only curb cut. So there will be no conflicts occurring at that curb cut for vehicles trying to turn in, vehicles trying to make a left out. It is strictly designed to be a right turn only curb cut.
which one, Mr. Manesso? I apologize.
The curb cut on Wantagh Avenue, the northerly one, that is basically adjacent to and in line with the drive-through. As I was saying, the Checkers that was approved, that curb cut, and to this day, that curb cut operated as an unrestricted curb cut. Left turns in, left turns out, right turns in, right turns out.
Left turns out, no
This
good.
proposal does right turns out only, no left turns out, no left turns in. So consequently, and for that matter, no right turns in. It is an exit only, right turn only curb cut. It'll cut down on conflict at that curb cut completely. And the other curb cut, which is currently a four-way curb cut, lefts in, lefts out, rights in, rights out, will remain the same, but that will be the one further south on Wantagh Avenue. And the curb cut on Hicksville Road, which is controlled by a traffic signal, is not changing. That is going to remain the same as well. So we think that this application actually significantly improves or provides benefits over and above the application that was approved by this board back in 2011. It is less intensive in that the parking deficiency is less, and it calls for a safer traffic movement. Additionally, the Checkers drive-through was approved with longer hours of operation. Sunday through Thursday, it was open from 10 a.m. to 1 a.m., and Friday and Saturday, it was open from 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. The Dunkin' Donuts drive-through will be open from 5 a.m. till only 10 p.m. and on Sunday through Thursday, and 5 a.m. to 12 a.m. Fridays and Saturdays. And as you can imagine, the business for Dunkin' Donuts, the busiest times are going to be typically in the morning. During the weekdays, you'll probably have a peak between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m., and the weekends probably between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. And that's really when the strip center is just getting started with their activities and their parking demand. So even though this development is taking away 11 parking spaces, it's generating no parking demand other than for perhaps a handful of employees who may drive, and/or somebody who may occasionally park to go to the walk-up window. Other than that, it's generating no parking demand whatsoever. And they're only losing 11 parking spaces on the site, whereas in the prior case, they were losing, they're only losing 9 parking spaces. In the prior case, they lost 11 spaces. So that's an overview of the application. Unless the board has any questions regarding the operation and the proposed use, I'll turn it over to Mr. Nelson to provide his testimony. Did you have a question, Mr. Pellegrini? Oh.
Don't fall for it. Good afternoon, it's Barry Nelson, 220 Pettit Avenue, Belmore, New York, 11710.
Mr. Nelson, you have been qualified by this board as a real estate expert on any number of occasions, probably 1,000.
Potentially in error.
Since the last time you were qualified by this board, have any of your qualifications changed for the worse?
No, sir.
Have they gotten better?
Possibly. It's status quo.
You are then free to testify as a real estate expert,
Thank you.
once again.
Council's gone over the case substantially. I do have some photographs of the subject property and the
We'll
surrounding
accept them in
uses.
evidence.
I think there's 31 photographs. I'm sorry, I started this application back in February, and the photographs do have snow in them. But I have been back within the last week to visit the location and the surrounding area, and it has no change substantially to the area.
And you took the photographs yourself, and you will attest to the fact that they fairly and accurately represent what they purport to, with the exception of the snow, of course.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
So
Then we'll accept them in evidence.
as council mentioned, the property has frontages on Wantor Avenue and Hicksville Road. The property is entirely within a business zone district.
Thank you.
The parcel is improved on the southerly side with retail stores, a laundromat, a lounge area, a bagel store, and some retail. Part of the history, I have been on this property many times, even before the Checkers application, part of the southerly Long Island Manor. Didn't I meet you? No. It was summertime, it's Long Island Manor. Those uses are no longer, those operators are no longer there. There is another lounge on the southerly side. Coco Bongo. I haven't been in there. Nevertheless, the application for the Dunkin' Donuts would be on the northerly side. The adjacent parcel to the north, previously when Checkers was, before the board, was a vacant, I think it was a BP service station with gasoline only and convenience store. Now it has been developed with Atlantis Gas and a Fresh Market retail store as well. The general pattern of development and character of the neighborhood is substantially similar to at the time Checkers was here before the board, possibly some changes of uses. There has been a substantial development at the southeast corner of Hicksville Road and Central Park Boulevard, where a 7-Eleven convenience store and gasoline has been improved at that location. Otherwise, the predominant development is similar to back in the Checkers application, 2010, 2011. Immediately to the south, on the Wantor Avenue side, you have automotive-related uses, including a collision shop, auto repairs. On the easterly side of the property, on the west side of Hicksville Road, similar type uses. The photographs that I've submitted will depict the general improvements in the area, both along Wantor Avenue and Hicksville Road. It's my opinion the application as comes forward for a Dunkin' Donuts drive-through only, with the refuse area on the easterly side off of Hicksville Road. And at that point, Hicksville Road is a southbound. There's concrete sidewalks and curbs and a shoulder on the travel lane to the south. It's my opinion it's a reasonable request. Dunkin' Donuts has been before this board on many other applications throughout the town with drive-throughs, with interior seating, and similar type of requests for menu signs, et cetera. It's in keeping with the general pattern of development in the area. It will not alter or change the essential character in the area or depreciate property values. Again, we have automotive-related uses. We have similar type uses further north and south. It's my opinion the development on the northerly side, the request for the relief in parking, et cetera, is not detrimental to the surrounding community. I believe the board has photographs of the southerly side where the refuse and the containers are. They are behind the existing building, interior off the front yard setbacks on either side. Thank you.
Then I'll turn it over to Mr. Shukoski. As mentioned, Mr. Shukoski has appeared before this board on multiple occasions. A traffic study was performed, and traffic and parking study was performed for this site. I apologize, we only have one copy with us. We thought that we had more, but we'll be providing it after Mr. Shukoski references it, and I'll provide more copies to the secretary, to the board. I'm saving a tray. I can send PDFs if you'd like, so we save more trees.
And learn to use it. You'd have to learn to use it, as would I. Mr. Shukovsky, since the last time you've previously been qualified by the board as a traffic expert, since the last time you were qualified by the board, have any of your qualifications changed for the worse?
No, they have not.
Okay. You are then free to testify as a traffic expert.
Thank you. So for
Parking.
the record, Ethan Shukoski, 275 Broad Hollow Road, Melville, New York, with Atlantic Traffic and Design. I took a look at the cumulative impacts of the proposed Dunkin' coffee shop, coffee and donut shop with drive-through in the Bethpage Plaza Shopping Center. As was previously described, the shopping center is bound to the west by North Wantagh Avenue and bound to the east by Hicksville Road. Wantagh Avenue is a Nassau County jurisdiction roadway.
Yeah.
And Hicksville Road is New York State DOT
East-west.
jurisdiction,
That's
so we had to approach both Nassau County Public Works and State Department of Transportation. They've reviewed both the traffic study and the site plan and have signed off on both the access changes and impact to the nearby roadways. The shopping center's currently occupied by a large shopping center with 9 tenants, inclusive of dry retail and quick service. The access is provided via signalized intersection along southbound Hicksville Road that aligns with Brenner Avenue, and the 2 full movement driveways along Hicksville Road. Along Wantagh Avenue. In the proposed conditions, it's described, but the Dunkin' with drive-through service would be installed on the northern portion of the property. It would eliminate about 9 parking stalls on the northern side, and this was already described by the attorney, but the driveway that aligns with Bryant Street along Wantagh Avenue would be converted to a right-out only, so eliminating a significant amount of conflict points at that location. In addition, the cross-access to the site in the north would be removed. We took a look at traffic projections for the proposed coffee shop. When compared to the prior approved use, the Checkers restaurant, there's some fairly obvious comparisons to make. I mean, one, the highest demand is going to be in your morning peak hour commute. as opposed to like a lunchtime or dinner time. I think that complements the rest of the shopping center really well. You know, the other uses in the shopping center are really going to peak later in the day for lunch, for evening, and the like. One other difference between this and the prior application is the high rate of pass-by trips. Pass-by being those already on the roadway, they stop and pick up their coffee and continue on their route. So you're not adding additional trips to the roadway and traffic to the roadway. Coffee shops actually have a higher rate of pass-by than even fast food uses. Fast food uses are around 50%, whereas coffee shops, the data from the Institute of Transportation Engineers shows up to 90% in that morning peak hour could be pass-by trips, which makes sense. You know, most people stop for coffee on their way to work or other errands. We did do traffic counts at the site, and we evaluated the no build and build conditions with both the added trips due to the coffee shop and redistribution of traffic under the proposed conditions, because as mentioned, the removal of certain movements at the driveway aligned with Bryant Street. Just noting that, you know, we're going from 6 movements in and out of that driveway to just 1 egress movement, which I think is a big improvement. Of course, we looked at parking supply. There is a parking variance associated with this development. There are 161 stalls required for the overall shopping center, whereas we're providing 118 in this development, a reduction of 11 stalls. So we examined parking demand at the shopping center on both a weekday and Saturday. Our observations found a peak Saturday demand of about 30% occupied at the shopping center, which is about 49 parked vehicles on site.
So did you just say that on the peak on Saturday that you identified, you have 30% occupied, 30% available?
I'm sorry, 30% of the shopping center was occupied during our observations for it.
The parking spots at the shopping center?
Yes.
Keep going. Go ahead.
Yep. So we found, you know, when you also incorporate the coffee shop with drive-through, which obviously has very low parking demand, that was already described, only 2 stalls required for the employees, and then, you know, patrons to the coffee shop are mostly using the drive-through. We calculated a maximum demand in the proposed condition of 59 parked stalls, which would be about 48% of the total supply. I'm sorry, there would be a reserve capacity of 48%. So in proposed conditions, about half of the parking field would be occupied, according to our observations and calculations of future demand. We also took a look at the drive-through queuing. The layout provides for 9 vehicles from the pickup window to the end of the queue, and an additional 6 vehicles can be accommodated on site before impacting the adjacent roadway. Based on observations that my office has done at nearby Dunkin' locations on Long Island, we've observed a max of 8 drive-through vehicles at the Dunkin' sites we've looked at. So in my professional opinion, I think the layout is more than adequate to support the anticipated drive-through queuing.
Can I just ask you, I'm looking at the flow to get to the queue of the drive-through, and am I correct? It looks like there's the spot on Hicksville where you pull in. It's the closest one, and you still got to make your way across the parking lot a fair amount. And then on Wantagh, there appear to be, as far as I can tell, one clear one. There's another one that looks like a curb cut, but there are no arrows. And that one you need to get clear across the park. Are there any places where you pull in? Or is every place that you pull in to pursue the queue quite a ways away from the street?
Correct, yeah, the closest curb cut to the end of the queue, based on my measurements, is Hicksville's a little bit closer. It's about 100 feet away.
So that's going to put a fair amount. Did you think about what that would do to the traffic flow within the parking lot? If, let's say, the rush hour, a lot of cars getting through the parking lot, weaving through the parking lot?
Yeah, I mean, my observations found that the queue could accommodate it without impacting site circulation or queue or parking. But I mean, should it queue past that point, for example, on Hicksville Road, you'd queue about 100 feet, you'd block about 10 stalls, and
I wasn't so concerned about the queuing blocking as much as, people are flying through, so to speak, flying through the parking lot all the way across the whole parking lot to get to these queues. I wasn't sure if what consideration, if any, I'm not sure how that should be analyzed, I'm just asking.
yeah, I mean, I think typically we look at that as a good thing because we provide a lot of queue between the drive-through and the adjacent roads. We don't want it to queue onto the roadway, so the more space we could provide between the roadway and the drive-through. But I understand your concern. I think at most you would block some stalls on the northern end of the property. And during that time, when you'd have that rush hour, in the morning, most of the developments on the south side of the site are closed. So these would be really the only use in there at that time. So I don't think.
Yeah, again, I wasn't really focusing on blocking spots as much as, people flying through with cars,
Going too
flying
quickly.
down aisles.
There are some speed humps in the parking lot, so that may reduce, would reduce the speed of people as they enter the site. So if you're worried about people coming in too quickly and acting erratically, that helps to have some of those traffic calming measures already on the site.
Mr. Shukovsky, did you look at, I know that at the community meeting that we had, there were some references to accidents in this area. Did you take a look at the traffic, the accident numbers for this site?
So we did, yeah. We observed a number of crashes over a 3-year period at each of the access points, both driveways along Wantagh and the signalized access. We found that there was only a total of 6 crashes at all of the intersections over the 3-year period. And specifically at the traffic signal at Hicksville Road, it was about 1.6 crashes a year, or 1 crash every 7 months. When we evaluate safety concerns at an intersection, we typically look at the intersection crash rate per million entering vehicles, and that's just a federal standard. It's a rate expressed in crashes per million vehicles, it allows for a comparison of crash frequencies at different intersections by normalizing the number of crashes against the volume of traffic. So for this particular intersection, it was a rate of 0.16, whereas the state average for similar intersections is 0.5.
Hold on, you're kind of fading off gradually. You keep starting to run it all together.
I'm just trying to get my testimony
So you're
out.
saying that you look at, as a standard, you look at number of crashes per million vehicles entering that area?
Yeah, and the intent of that, I'm sorry to interrupt you. The intent of that is just to have a standard for,
I understand.
based on volume and the type of intersection. So for this intersection, it's about a third of the average crash rate for similar intersections in the state, based on volume and size.
So what were those numbers you said? 0.16, I think, was one of them.
1.6 crashes per year on average. So
But what was the million number? You
Oh,
said
I'm
we're
sorry. There was a
standardizing
rate
it.
of 0.16 crashes per million entering vehicles. And then
0.16 per million
Zero-
on the standardized
zero
numbers.
point-
0.16.
0.16.
Isn't 0.16 the same as 0.16?
0.16, yes.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, you're the numbers guy, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what's the average?
The state average is 0.53.
So 0.53 is the average versus 0.16 for
Right.
this
Yeah.
intersection.
Sorry.
So it's substantially lower than the average. And of those fatalities that you looked into, were there any serious injuries or fatality? I'm
There were-
sorry,
there-
accidents. Were there any
There were
fatalities?
no fatalities in the accident, in the reported crashes we
Thank you.
received.
When you say similar intersections, were the ones that were in the .53 as similar intersections that you used to standardize it, were those intersections that were sufficiently similar in this amount of, there's going to be a lot of traffic flow here during the busy hours for everyone coming through. Does that part of the similar intersection analysis, does that include drive-throughs with similar expected flows?
It includes similar turning movement volumes and size in terms of number of lanes at the intersection.
Mr. Pellegrini, did you have a question?
No.
Oh, you're not? Ms. Adams?
Yes. I'd like to know, you're asking for a special exception to maintain 2 storage containers and 3 sheds. Who owns them?
Well, theoretically, they would be owned by the property owner, the landlord.
So the stores do not own?
I think the stores use them. I can't say whether they own them or not. I would guess that the property owner owns them. Or the tenant for each store maybe leases the storage container or owns the storage container. I really can't say.
But it's the owner of the property.
But it's the owner of the property who's responsible for it. So if the board decides that those should not be there, then he'll have to remove them.
So, if the board denies them, how many more parking spaces can be accommodated in the back?
Well, I guess you could
you
do
could.
parallel spaces.
Yes.
Because there's not enough backup space to do perpendicular.
Right. And you can't block the back of the building for safety reasons.
But frankly, Mr. Pellegrini, parking spaces back there are typically, would typically only be valuable to employees.
Yes.
Because, and I'm not sure if each one of these, I imagine the tenant spaces have access from the rear. Do you have photos to show that there is, you can access from the rear? So I guess you could put some, yeah, can you access there are some doorways. So I guess you could put some employee parking spaces back there. It wouldn't make sense to put customer parking spaces back there because nobody's going to use them.
Parking is parking, you
Right.
know, employee parks in the front or employee parks in the back.
Right.
And then we don't know who, the landlord owns the dumpsters and containers. Is he renting that out
we
to
have
the
to
auto
legalize them.
body shop next door?
No, it's not. It's not being used by anybody off-site, those containers.
How do we know that?
Mr. Nelson was there. He according to his
It's a locked
observation.
container.
Yeah, you can't access it from those properties unless you walk all the way around.
It's a drive-through, you park it.
Well, they'd have to come onto the property. You can't access it from the auto retail, those auto servicing. Yeah, they have their own, in fact.
Okay, I've never seen an application with retail stores that needed a container behind them, quite honestly. And these are small retail stores. I think there's a nail salon, there's a dry cleaner, a smoke shop. There's all kinds of small uses that nobody has storage containers on their property.
Pellegrini, if the board doesn't legalize them, then the applicant will have to remove them.
Okay. Did anyone look in to see if they're filled with discarded fingernails?
I'm sorry?
Mr. Benesso, are you aware of the fact that we have several emails in opposition?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I saw 2 of them. I understand that 2 came in last night.
Would you like to address them briefly?
Yes, I would.
Very briefly?
I would.
Good.
First of all, they contain some misinformation. I know one indicated that we were losing 45 parking spaces on site, when in fact we're losing 9 with the addition of the Duncan. We did have a community meeting back in May with a number of the residents in the area. They were concerned that it was going to result in people parking on their side streets, namely Bryant and what's the other one to the north on this side? Both. Well, Wanto really.
That'll end it.
Brian, Carson, Brenner. There were people who were concerned that people were going to be parking on their streets if there was a parking deficiency on this property. What you've heard from Mr. Shikoski is that at the most that they saw in terms of occupancy was still a 48% availability of parking spaces. So being that we're adding a use that is going to be off-peak for when the other parking typically takes place, especially the nightclub / lounge or restaurant that's there, which would be busy at night, when for the most part the Dunkin' Donuts is going to either be very low volume of activity or closed, because it closes at 10 p.m. during Sunday through Thursday, and 12 midnight on Friday and Saturday. So between the lack of parking generated by the proposed use and the off-peak hours of the Dunkin', it shouldn't have any impact on the parking available on the site. And frankly, at that meeting, a number of the residents said that they went by one night and they saw that there were 54 cars in the parking lot. That's fine, because we had 108. We will have 118 parking spaces. So I think, you know, they, in a sense, they were making our point, but they were nonetheless concerned that a new use here would trigger traffic issues on Wantor Avenue. You've heard from Mr. Shikoski that that's just not the case. The volumes can easily be handled, and the modifications to that curb cut make a significant difference, especially when one considers that the Checkers was approved with a four-way left turn in, left turn out, right turn in, right turn out curb cut there, and we're only going to be an exiting curb cut, right turn out. So you'll have far less conflict, far less chance for accidents. So again, the neighbors are afraid of what they don't know, and that's typical. It's typical. People are afraid of change, but I don't know that there's anything legitimately concerning in their comments that would justify a denial, particularly one where past precedent of this board supports the granting, because identical relief is being requested, and the only difference is that it's less intense.
Can you justify a denial for the dumpsters in the back and containers?
That I might be able to do.
We might be able to do it,
I
too.
might be able to do.
I
But,
believe-
I'm
I'm sorry.
Bottom line is Nassau County Planning Commission recommended local determination.
Okay.
And we have very good operators here who know the business. They know Dunkin' Donuts. They're local people. They will operate a good site. They know how to operate these sites, and we think it's a very good use for the property.
Okay. I believe that concludes your presentation.
It does.
Sorry, it was spaced.
All right, do I have any other questions from the board, other than whether or not they're going to carry powdered crullers?
You're going to turn in the
Everyone I
one
go
copy of the
to,
traffic study that
the
we
one
have.
in my neighborhood doesn't have them, and my wife
We'll accept that, Mr.
will
Benesso.
accept that in evidence, Mr. Benesso.
I move that the hearing be closed, that the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Everyone who signed in on the case will receive a copy of the board's decision by mail once it's rendered.
rendered.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Sorry you couldn't all testify as to something, but your attorney decided you shouldn't do that.
Have a nice day.
That concludes the afternoon calendar. We'll take a 5-minute break and then come back and do decisions. We'll see you next week, I'm sure. See ya. Is the live feed still on? Does it have to remain on, or can I make some negative comments?
Okay. June 27th.
June 27th.
Everybody
want a piece of gum?
I do, please.
I do too. Give me
You have to
half.
ask Joanne.
Give me half,
Another
woman.
piece.
Case 370, wait a minute, what happened at 376? I don't have that. No. Okay. Okay. All right. Case 376 of 2024, Belmore. Joseph Pizzarusso has been adjourned to August 21st, 2024 at 2 p.m. Case 377 of 2024, Oceanside, Fernando Canary. That has been adjourned to September 4th at 2 p.m. Cases 378 through 379, Lido Beach, Daniel Librizzi.
I'm just going to take a look at that.
We're going to hold it.
I just want to, and I want to just clarify the wording on that, because the way it's written, it implies that it implies it satisfies the BF fee, but not the DF
Yeah,
fee.
DF
And
fee.
it doesn't satisfy either, so I just want
Mhm.
to make sure all our ducks are in a row, because the town suffers scrutiny if we grant things below the BF fee, we get audited. So I just want to, I'll take a look at it and then. figure out what
Cases 380, 381, 382, 383, 384, and 385 of 2024, Seaford. Seaford 4034 LLC. Do I have any discussion? If not, do I
Yes.
have a motion?
I have a couple things.
Okay.
Number one, he said that if we granted the parking in the Residence B,
Mhm.
we wouldn't have to grant a parking shortage variance. He
Right.
was 36, yes.
Mhm.
So I think that's a better scenario than granting a shortage, because then they can
Okay.
keep it. Sure. He also, it's unclear to me why, let's see, is a side yard appropriate for a generator? I thought before we didn't have that, so can we just check that if they need the side yard aggregate? And he said that they would control the pickup times for the trash because it's up against a residential neighborhood, and that they would instruct the drivers not to, they wouldn't allow the drivers to idle the diesels up there. That's a big deal to the residents. And limit for in only on the west curb cut. That's all I have.
Okay. You want a draft on that?
Yes, please.
How about a draft? Okay, draft.
I know.
Okay. Next case, next cases, 386 of 2024 and 387 of 2024, Roosevelt Marty Homes subdivision. Do I have any further discussion? If not, do I have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve case 386 of 24 and 387 of 24 Roosevelt Marty Homes with the normal subdivision conditions.
Second.
All in, no exterior entrance as the usual.
Yes, of course.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Cases 388 and 389 of 2024, Roosevelt again, Marty Homes again. Do I have any discussion? If not, do I have a motion on those cases?
Mr. Chairman, I would move cases 388 and 389, 2024, as you described them, affecting the property at 10 Union Street in Roosevelt, be approved as requested, usual subdivision conditions.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Cases 190 to 193, I think we're going to hold that case, no?
Yes.
Okay. Several of the board members may want to inspect it. That concludes the regular calendar. Do we have anything else we have to discuss? Couple of PMs. Go ahead.
Okay, Is the board ready to decide on case 122 of 24?
Which is?
That is page 1 of the reserve, Woodmere Congregation by use of friend. It's on the page 1 of the reserve.
Any discussion? That's the Peninsula Boulevard case. Any comments? I think Mark looked at it.
I'd like to make a motion. I read the minutes, CEQA, and I move that we adopt a negative declaration as to CEQA determination based on the testimony given, exhibits, and materials we have reviewed and analyzed.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
I move that we grant the special exception to construct an addition to the existing religious use, waive off-street parking, and that was it.
All in favor?
And a variance for off-street parking.
Okay. Conditions?
With conditions.
With conditions. Second? All in favor? Next. On 329, Al Morales and Hayden, we're going to hold that. We have a new date, and we've got a... 3. What are we going to do on? We're holding that. Okay. Administrative?
Oh, yes. I emailed the board findings on Gower.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if anyone has any comments. I had some, yes.
Oh, yeah.
DOUR.
Well done. I had like,
Yeah, I have the 2, 3 edits.
that's all I had.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.
That was finding fact for there.
Yep.
I did find a pretty good case.
We're going to adopt these. Any discussion about that? If not, can I have a motion to adopt the findings?
Yes, I do.
That'd be nice. 149 of 24, I
Mr.
thought.
Chairman, as it relates to case 149 of 2024, Michael Dower, property is at 1739 White Street in Belmore, in North Belmore. I move that the board adopt the findings of facts drafted by council to the board.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Joseph. Joseph.
So, in his letter, he says that on behalf of the applicant, I hereby request that the board vote to rehear this application in order to consider the amended site plan enclosed herein. On the amended site plan, the applicant has eliminated the need for relief from Town Law 280A for the lot fronting along Hempstead Avenue. The proposed dwelling on that lot may be constructed as of right and will have a circular driveway, allowing for ingress and egress directly to and from Hempstead Avenue. The other 3 lots are entirely zoning compliant, except they would front along a private driveway and therefore continue to require relief under Town Law 280A. As you may recall, this private driveway already exists and was previously approved by the Town Board and the Nassau County Department of Public Works in connection with the construction of the attached dwellings on the site immediately to the south of the subject property. The applicant would expand the width of the driveway to 31 feet, a width that is slightly greater than the standard width of a public street. Therefore, based on the revision of the site plan that eliminates the need for variance on one of the proposed lots, and based on the fact that the relief requested for the remaining lots is minor and technical in nature, the applicant respectfully requests that the board grant a rehearing and allow the applicant to represent this matter for consideration.
I tend to think that, given that to me, the changes are insubstantial, and I think if nothing else, the principles of res judicata, and just generally speaking, it's not substantially different than that which we denied. I would move to deny that request.
And a lot of what was, our decision was based in large part, not so much on the, but had a substantial relationship to the traffic problems, and this does not differ at all from the prior application. So, you vote to deny?
I made a motion to deny the request.
Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. I mean, it needed to be unanimous anyway. One vote to deny did it. That's it. Okay. Anybody want to make a motion to close?
I make a motion to close.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.